Lagos is known to be a city of duality. By day, it shines with ambition, wealth, and opportunity. But by night, the other Lagos awakens, a city of whispers, where power is defined by violence and desperation. Ife did not always belong to the shadow. Once, she was a girl with dreams, born to a struggling single mother in Ajegunle. She fought against the tide of poverty. At 16, her mother fell sick. With no father in sight and no relative willing to help, Ife was forced to take on odd jobs, washing clothes, selling on the roadside, and anything to keep food on their table. But it was never enough. One evening, her mother collapsed in their small, dimly lit room. Gasping for air, Ife screamed for help, but the neighbor turned away. No one wanted to involve themselves in another family's suffering. She ran to the nearest clinic, begging the nurses to admit her mother, but without money they refused. The next day, her mother died in her arms, her frail body shaking with fever. Her last word a whisper. "Stay strong, my daughter," her mother said. Left completely alone, Ife wandered the streets in search of food. Hunger ground at her ribs. She slept on church steps, dodging the ends of men who saw an unprotected girl as easy prey. Then she met Auntie Gloria. Auntie Gloria was kind, or so she seemed. She found Ife curled up behind the market store, and she took her in, offering her food, shelter, and a promise to work. "I know a place where you can make good money," Auntie Gloria said, her smile warm and motherly. "You will serve drinks and clean table, nothing too hard. Desperate, if you accepted." If I was given a warm meal and a ride in a sleek black car, but as the city light blurred past, something felt wrong. Auntie Gloria no longer smiled. The driver locked the door. By the time they reached their destination, a sprawling mansion called the Paradise Club, Ife realized her mistake. Paradise Club was no ordinary nightclub. It was owned by the infamous Chief Ojuku. It was a place where power, crime, and secret thrived under the neon light and heavy beats. Auntie Gloria led her inside, past the blaring music and laughing men, and into a dimly lit corridor. The moment they stepped through a heavy iron door, two guards grabbed Ife. Ife kicked and screamed, clawing at Auntie Gloria. But the woman signed. "Stop fighting, girl. This is your new home," she said. Ife was stripped of her name and her freedom. Iyakemi, the madam of the club, sized her up like a livestock at an auction. "She will learn fast," Iyakemi murmured to the enforcer. The butcher, who loomed in the corner, his massive frame and scarred face a constant reminder of punishment for disobedience. At first, Ife fought back. She refused to dress in tight, revealing clothes. She refused to smile at the men who leered at her. And for that, she was punished. They locked her in a dark, windowless room, feeding her only water and stale bread. By the third week, hunger and exhaustion had won. Ife emerged hollow-eyed and compliant. That night, Ife was forced to serve drinks to the men who control Lagos. Politicians, business mogul, gang leader, and many more. She learned that resistance meant pain, but silence meant survival. Over the years, many girls have tried to escape. Some were caught and never seen again. Others returned broken beyond repair. There was Adesua, a girl who attempted to flee. Adesua had bribed a guard with promises of riches once she reached safely. But the guard betrayed her. She was dragged back into the club. Her face was blooded, and her spirit was shattered. The butcher made an example of her in front of the others. "You think you can escape," he sneered. "There is no living paradise." Adesua was tied to a chair. Yakemi forced the girls to watch the butcher pour a oil of liquor over her and then lit a match. The scream haunted the girls for weeks. The smell of burning flesh clung to the wall, and no one tried to run again for a while. Another girl, Kuju, who attempted to make an escape during the chaos of the police raid. Kuju sprinted into the street barefooted and bleeding. But she was unlucky. She ran straight into a police officer who returned her to Yakemi for a prize. Efe sat in the dimly lit corner of the Paradise Club, her mind a battlefield of doubt and determination. As she nursed her drink, a group of girls huddled around her, their eyes dark with warning and fear. "You think you can escape?" a girl named Shade scoffed, her voice barely above a whisper. "Many have tried, none have succeeded." Another girl, Bimpe, leaned in closer. There was Amina. She made it past through the guard, even got as far as the dock. But the butcher found her. They dragged her back, and she was locked in the ice room, a freezing chamber used to break the will of defiant girls. When she emerged, she was no longer the same, Bimpe said. If her jaw tightened as she listened, the weight of their story pressed on her chest, but it did not extinguish the fire in her heart. "So you see," Bimpe said, "there is no way out. Chief Ojugo owns us all. The moment you even think of running, you're already dead." If I looked around at the girls, they are all buried under the years of torment. She understood their fear, but she also knew one thing. She was not going to die here. If it was different, she caught the eye of Chief Ojugo himself. Unlike the others, she was preferred. She was given better dresses, more money, and most powerful clients. Some of the other girls whispered about it, their word laced with envy and resentment. "She thinks she's better than us. She's just playing the game smarter." But in the end, she's still a pawn. A girl named Folake snarled one night when Efe was led to the VIP section. "She doesn't have to think it," another girl muttered. "Ojugo already treat her like she is." But with privilege came danger. Efe knew that being preferred did not mean being safe. If anything, it meant she was watched even closer. Any sign of defiance, any whisper of rebellion, and she will end up like Amina and Tolu. Yet, as the other whispered warning and jealous taunts, Efe resolve only grew stronger. Then came a new girl, Amaka. Amaka was 17, naive and trembling with fear. Amaka's arrival at the Paradise Club had been just as terrifying. She was sold off by her father to pay off his debts. She was snatched from the streets. One moment, she was rushing home from the market, and the very next, a black van had pulled beside her. Anne grabbed her. A rag was pressed over her nose, and the world faded to black. When she woke up, she was in a cramped, dirty holding room, surrounded by girls. Some were younger than her, some were older, all with the same look of horror and helplessness in their eyes. They were giving no explanation, only orders. They had become property overnight. Iyakemi had walked in, her presence commanding, her gaze scanning the fresh face like a machete inspecting goods. "This one," she had said, gripping Amaka's chin roughly. "She will fetch a high price when she learns the rules." Amaka had screamed, struggled, but it was useless. If we had watched her from the shadow, recognizing the same terror she had once felt. One night, Amaka whispered, "Please, I don't belong here." If her heart clenched, "None of us do," she said. Amaka was assigned to Chief Rotimi, a powerful politician with hunger for control. When she was dragged into his chamber, she fought him back. She beat him and drew blood. The next morning, punishment was displayed in the main hall. Her body limp, her face swollen, her eyes void of light. She wasn't dead, but she was lost. That was the final straw for Efe. She wouldn't let Amaka end up like the other girls, she said. Jaga, who is one of Chief Ojugo's most trusted enforcer, a man feared for his brutality and efficiency. He handled the shipment, ensured the girls remained obedient, and disposed of those who became liabilities. Over the years, something inside him had changed. He had seen too many young girls broken, too many bodies discarded like trash. The guilt had begun to eat him away. Efe had been the first to notice that Jaga was different. Unlike the other men who worked for Ojugo, he didn't lay at girls with hunger or cruelty. There was something in his eyes that was different. Remorse and regret. One night, Efe sat alone. Jaga approached her, lowering his voice so that only she could hear him. "You are not like them," he said. Efe looked up, her eyes cautious. "Neither are you," Efe said. A small smirk played on Jaga's lips. "Maybe I was, but not anymore." She studied him, searching for deceit, but all she found was a man who had been too much and lost himself along the way. "There is a shipment leaving tomorrow night," Jaga said after a long silence. "If you want out, that is your chance." If her heart pondered, could she trust him? Could she afford not to? "Not just me," she said firmly. "The girls. All of them." Jaga exhaled sharply. "That is suicide. Ojugo will hunt you down." If her eyes burned with fury. "Then let me die for something," she said. Efe and a small group of girls spread whisper of rebellion. The night of the escape arrived. The air in the club was thick with smoke and sweat. Jaga had arranged everything. The fire, the distraction, the van waiting just outside the alley. The plan was simple. Chaos would be their cover. As the first flame linked in the chamber, a sharp alarm blared through the club. The guard scrambled, shout of confusion filling the air. Efe grabbed Amaka's wrist and pulled her through the back halls. "Now or never," she screamed. The other girls hesitated, but the smoke was spreading. Panic took over. Bimpe and Sade were the first to bolt, pushing past the guards in the freezing. Some of the girls screamed, unsure whether to run or hide. Then the butcher appeared. His massive frame blocked the exit, his knife gleaming under the flickering emergency lights. Going somewhere, he snared. Efe lunged first, catching him off guard. A struggle ensued, violent and desperate. Amaka, her body shaking with fear. She grabbed a broken bottle and stabbed him in the side. He writhed in pain, but it wasn't enough. Then, Jaga arrived, delivering a gunshot to the butcher, which sent him crashing to the ground. "Move!" Jaga barked. Efe and Amaka ran, leading the others through the smoke-filled corridor. Some guards were trying to contain the fire. Others were distracted by rioting girls. Outside, the van engine rumbled. They burst into the alley, gasping for air. Just as they reached the van, a shot rang out. Amaka screamed, falling to the ground. Efe spun around, her heart pounding. Chief Ojugo stood in the doorway, gun raised, fury burning in his eyes. "You really thought you could win," he growled. Jaga stepped forward, his own gun aimed. "Your time is up, Ojugo. This ends tonight," Jaga said. More shots fired, the air filled with scream and smoke. Efe dragged Amaka into the van as Jaga covered them. The van sped off into the night, the girls inside sobbing, holding on to each other as the weight of their escape eats them. They were free. For the first time in years, if a breathed. Beside her, Amaka whisper, "Where do we go now?" If I watched the Lagos skyline approached, the city still heard its secrets, its danger, but for the first time, if I wasn't afraid, then she answered with a smile on her face, "Anywhere we want."